Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's dive into the story. It was a quiet evening in a small, dimly lit cafe nestled on the corner of a bustling street. The air was thick with the aroma of fresh coffee, mingling with the faint sound of distant chatter. But for one woman sitting alone at a corner table, the warmth of the cafe couldn't reach her. Emily Scott was used to being unnoticed. Her worn jacket and mismatched shoes were a far cry from the sleek suits and polished shoes of the people around her. She clutched her coffee cup, its warmth providing a small comfort, but her mind was elsewhere. The last few months had been a whirlwind of job rejections, missed opportunities, and unpaid bills. She had dreamed of a better life, but lately, it felt as if those dreams were slipping further away with each passing day. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, and she pulled it out, glancing at the screen. The notification was from her landlord, reminding her that rent was due, again. The message made her stomach churn. How was she going to pay this month's rent? She was already 3 months behind, and the thought of being out on the street was terrifying. She quickly shoved her phone back into her pocket, trying to push away the anxiety building inside her. Just as Emily was about to lose herself in another wave of frustration, the door to the cafe swung open. A man stepped inside, his tall frame immediately catching her attention. He was impeccably dressed in a sharp black suit, his hair neatly styled, and his expression serious as he scanned the room. Emily tried to focus on her coffee, hoping he wouldn't notice her, but somehow, he walked straight towards her. The man stopped just a few feet away, his dark eyes locking onto hers. "Is this seat taken?" His voice was calm, yet firm, and something in the way he looked at her made her feel both seen and insignificant at the same time. She blinked, surprised by his question. For a moment, she considered telling him that the table was taken, but then remembered that she was sitting alone, as usual. "No," Emily replied, offering a small, nervous smile. "It's free." She cleared her throat, a little embarrassed by her stammering response. The man gave her a slight nod and sat down across from her without another word. The air between them was thick with unspoken tension, and Emily found herself stealing glances at him. He wasn't just any man. There was something about him, something that made him stand out in a crowd, even here in this humble cafe. As he settled into his seat, Emily couldn't help but notice how different they were. He exuded wealth and power in a way that made her feel small. She, on the other hand, was just a waitress trying to scrape by, her dreams of a better life seeming so far out of reach. She shifted uncomfortably in her seat, not knowing what to say. He hadn't looked at her since sitting down, but she could feel his gaze on her, almost like a weight pressing down on her. "I'm Liam," the man said after a few moments, his voice low but smooth. Emily blinked, not expecting him to introduce himself. "Emily," she replied quickly. "Nice to meet you." The awkward silence between them stretched on. Emily wasn't sure what to say next, but she felt a strange pull to keep talking, to fill the silence. "Are you here for work?" Liam asked, his tone casual, but with an undercurrent of curiosity. "Yeah, just grabbing a quick coffee before my shift," Emily answered, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'm a waitress at the diner down the street." She noticed his eyes flicker slightly at the mention of her job, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he leaned back in his chair, studying her for a moment before responding. "I work in tech," he said, keeping his answer vague. "Nothing too glamorous, though." Emily nodded, but her mind was racing. What kind of person would he be, sitting alone in a cafe like this? The more she tried to figure him out, the less she understood. As the conversation continued, Emily found herself laughing at his dry sense of humor, despite her anxiety. For a moment, she forgot about the world outside the cafe and allowed herself to enjoy the company of a stranger who seemed so different from everyone she knew. But all too soon, her phone buzzed again. She glanced at it, her heart sinking as she saw the name of the person she had been dreading to hear from. "Kevin, where are you?" the message read. Emily's breath caught in her throat, and she looked up at Liam, her face flushing with embarrassment. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," she stammered, standing up quickly. "I sat at the wrong table." "You're not Kevin." She felt the heat rush to her cheeks as she grabbed her coat and started to leave, her heart pounding in her chest. Liam stood up as well, but his voice stopped her before she could rush out the door. "Wait," he called, his tone softer now. "It's okay. Don't go." Emily froze, her hand on the door handle. His words, simple as they were, made her hesitate. She turned to look back at him, confusion in her eyes. "I didn't mean to embarrass you," he said, his voice gentle now. I don't mind talking. Really." But before she could say another word, Emily was already out the door, her feet carrying her into the night. As she walked down the street, she couldn't help but wonder, who was this man? And why did she feel like she had just made a mistake by running away? The next morning, Emily couldn't shake the memory of last night. She tried to push it out of her mind, but the moment kept replaying in her head, the unexpected kindness of the man, the way he looked at her, and that quiet, sincere request, "Don't go." It was a simple phrase, yet it lingered in her thoughts, making her wonder if she had made a mistake by leaving so quickly. Was it possible he had been different from the others? She shook her head, trying to focus. It was just another encounter. Nothing more. Besides, she had her own problems to deal with. Another long shift at the diner awaited her. The bills were piling up, and she still didn't know how she was going to pay rent next week. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a reminder for a job interview she had scheduled. She couldn't afford to mess this up, not if she wanted to change her situation. Emily rushed through her morning routine, pulling on her worn-out sneakers, her fingers brushing against the edges of the crumpled note she kept in her jacket pocket. It was from her late mother, a reminder to always keep fighting, even when things seemed impossible. She shoved the note back into her pocket, grabbed her bag, and stepped out into the chilly morning. The streets were still wet from last night's rain, the sidewalks slick with the remnants of the storm. She hurried along, her mind elsewhere as she made her way to the diner. But as she passed the small park near her apartment, her phone rang. She glanced at the screen. Kevin. It was the man she had been supposed to meet last night. "Hey, Emily, where are you?" Kevin's voice sounded distant, almost annoyed. "You never showed up." Emily froze, feeling the familiar knot in her stomach. I'm sorry," she said quickly. "I got confused. I sat at the wrong table. It was a mistake. I should have told you, but a mistake, huh?" Kevin interrupted, his tone sharp. "Well, it's fine. Just don't make it a habit. I don't like people who waste my time." He hung up before she could respond. She let out a frustrated sigh, staring at the screen. That was it. She had been so worried about what to say, so focused on trying to make a good impression, and in the end, it hadn't mattered. Kevin had already made up his mind about her. Emily shoved the phone back into her pocket and continued walking, her thoughts racing. She wasn't going to let this ruin her day. She had bigger things to focus on. The diner wasn't far now, and she needed the shift. She needed the tips. But just as she was about to cross the street, she caught sight of something out of the corner of her eye. Standing by the entrance to a building across the street was the same man from last night. Liam. He was leaning against the wall, his hands in his pockets, his eyes scanning the crowd. He looked out of place here, just as he had in the cafe, his expensive suit standing in stark contrast to the bustling, ordinary street life. Emily hesitated for a moment, her heart skipping a beat. Should she walk past him without saying anything? Was it too awkward after everything? But before she could decide, he spotted her. His gaze locked onto hers, and for a moment, the noise of the street seemed to fade into the background. He pushed himself off the wall and began walking toward her, a calm, deliberate pace. "Emily," he called, his voice surprisingly warm. "I thought I'd run into you again. Can we talk?" Emily stood frozen for a second, unsure of how to respond. She had not expected to see him here, not today, not in this place. What did he want from her now? Was he going to apologize for the awkwardness of last night? Was it just another form of pity? He came to a stop in front of her, his eyes kind, but there was a hint of something else, something deeper, like curiosity, maybe even interest. "I know you're probably busy, but I wanted to offer you something," he said, his hands still in his pockets. Emily frowned, trying to read him. "I'm not sure I understand. After last night, why would you want to talk to me again?" Liam smiled faintly, as if he had expected that response. "I don't usually do this," he admitted, "but I think you're different. You've got something I don't see very often, honesty, maybe even a little vulnerability. It's refreshing." Emily shook her head. The the skepticism rising within her. You don't know me. We don't even know each other. True, he said with a quiet laugh. But I'd like to change that. I'm offering you a job, Emily. Something more than waitressing. You don't have to take it, but I think it could help you. If you're interested. Her heart skipped again, but this time for a different reason. A job? What could he possibly offer her? Liam was a stranger. A rich stranger who had no reason to care about her life. Yet there he was, offering her a way out. She stared at him, trying to process his words. What kind of job? She asked, her voice betraying a mixture of disbelief and hope. Liam's smile softened. I'll explain everything. But let's grab a coffee and talk about it. He nodded toward the cafe just across the street. Emily hesitated for a moment longer, her mind racing. She was about to say something, but before she could, Liam added, I promise. It's nothing like what you're thinking. No strings attached. Just a chance for something better. She nodded slowly, still uncertain but curious. It was a risk, but wasn't everything else in her life a risk right now? Emily followed Liam across the street, her steps hesitant but drawn to the quiet, inviting cafe on the corner. The familiar scent of coffee and pastries filled the air as they entered, but this time, it felt different. The cafe was no longer just a place to grab a quick drink. It felt like a stepping stone into something unknown, something that could change her life. Liam held the door open for her, his presence calm and steady, and she couldn't help but feel a strange sense of security around him, despite her doubts. They walked to a small table in the back, away from the other patrons. The moment they sat down, Liam spoke, his voice gentle but direct. I know you're probably wondering why I'm doing this, he said, folding his hands in front of him on the table. Why I would offer you a job, someone I just met. But after last night, I couldn't stop thinking about you, Emily. You're different. You're not like the people I usually deal with. Emily shifted in her seat, still unsure of what to make of his words. She had learned to be cautious with people who offered help, especially when there was nothing to gain for them. But Liam's sincerity in his eyes made her pause. I'm not looking for anything from you, he continued, as if reading her thoughts. I'm offering you this because I think you have potential. You're working in a diner, struggling to make ends meet, but there's so much more to you. I can see it. Emily couldn't help but feel a small spark of hope. What exactly are you offering? She asked, her voice cautious but curious. Liam leaned forward slightly, his voice steady as he spoke. I run a charity foundation, and we're looking for someone who understands the struggles people face, someone who has a genuine heart. We don't just want someone with qualifications on paper. We need someone who can connect with people. You have that. I'm offering you a role at the foundation, starting as a coordinator. You'll help organize events, connect with people who need support, and build something meaningful. And, of course, you'll be paid well for it. Emily stared at him, her mind racing. A job in a charity? It sounded too good to be true. She had never imagined anything like this, certainly not someone like Liam offering her such an opportunity. But then, the doubt crept back in. Why me? She asked, her voice soft. Why would you choose someone like me for this? Liam smiled slightly, his eyes softening as he spoke. Because you care, he said simply. I saw it in you last night. The way you listened, the way you gave your last $10 to a stranger. You didn't have to do that, but you did. You showed kindness when you didn't have to. And that's the kind of person we need. Emily felt a lump form in her throat. She hadn't realized how much that moment had affected her. The act of kindness had felt so small at the time, just a fleeting decision. But here Liam was, telling her that it meant something. It made her feel seen, in a way she hadn't felt in a long time. She looked down at her hands, unsure of what to say next. A part of her wanted to say yes, to accept this offer and leave her struggles behind. But another part of her was scared of being let down, scared that this was just another empty promise. I'm not sure I'm the right person for this, she said quietly, her voice tinged with doubt. Liam's expression remained calm, but his voice grew more encouraging. I know it's a big leap, but you don't have to decide right now. Take some time. Think it over. You've already proven you have the heart for this job. All I'm offering is a chance to change your life. Emily was quiet for a long moment, her thoughts swirling. Could she really do this? Could she take this leap and trust someone like Liam? Someone who seemed so different from anyone she had known? I'll think about it, she finally said, her voice soft but firm. But I appreciate the offer. I really do. Liam smiled, the warmth returning to his eyes. That's all I'm asking. No pressure. Just know that the offer is there whenever you're ready. Emily nodded, feeling a weight lift off her shoulders. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she had options. It was a small step, but it felt like a step towards something better, something that might just change everything. As they finished their coffee, Liam paid for both their drinks and stood up, offering her a handshake. Take care, Emily. I'll be in touch. Thank you, she said, standing as well. I'll keep in touch. They exchanged a final smile before parting ways, and as Emily walked back onto the busy street, she felt something she hadn't felt in a while. Hope. Maybe this was the start of something new, something better. The next few days passed in a blur for Emily. She spent her time juggling her shifts at the diner, still haunted by the offer Liam had made. It seemed too good to be true, but part of her couldn't shake the feeling that it was the opportunity she had been waiting for. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw his calm, steady gaze, his words echoing in her mind. Asterisk. You have potential. You're different. Asterisk. It had taken everything inside her not to reach out to him sooner, to give in to the temptation to take the offer without truly thinking it through. But she needed to be sure. This wasn't just any job. It was a chance at something bigger, something that could change her life forever. On the fourth day after their meeting, Emily found herself standing outside the office building Liam had mentioned. It was a sleek, modern structure with large glass windows that reflected the clear blue sky above. She hesitated for a moment before pushing open the door and stepping inside. Her heart was pounding in her chest, each step toward the elevator feeling heavier than the last. When she arrived on the top floor, the receptionist gave her a polite but slightly curious smile, as if she was surprised to see Emily walking through the doors. "May I help you?" the receptionist asked. "I'm here to see Mr. Parker," Emily said, trying to sound confident, even though she felt far from it. "He's expecting me." The receptionist nodded and gave a quick call to let Liam know she had arrived. A few moments later, Emily was escorted to a spacious office with floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a breathtaking view of the city. The room was sleek and minimalist, with a large wooden desk in the center. And there, behind the desk, sat Liam. He stood when she entered, offering her a warm smile as he gestured for her to sit. "I'm glad you came," he said, his voice calm and inviting. "I know this is a big decision, and I appreciate you taking the time to think it over." Emily sat down across from him, her nerves still on edge. She had spent days imagining this moment, but now that it was real, she wasn't sure what to say. "I've thought about it a lot," she admitted, "and I want to thank you for the offer. It's everything I've been looking for, but I need to know more. What exactly would I be doing?" Liam leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful as he explained. "The foundation is about helping people, offering them a chance when life feels like it's slipping away. We work with homeless shelters, community outreach programs, and local charities. You'll be in charge of coordinating events, managing partnerships, and making sure the people who need help get it. It's a lot of responsibility, but it's also incredibly rewarding. And don't worry, you won't be alone. We have a team, and I'll be there to guide you through it." Emily nodded, taking in the information. It sounded like everything she had hoped for, everything she had dreamed of doing. She could make a difference. She could actually help people. But she still had that nagging fear in the back of her mind. What if she wasn't enough? What if she failed? Seeing the doubt in her eyes, Liam's expression softened. "You don't have to have all the answers right now," he said. "I believe in you, Emily, and that's why I'm offering you this chance, to prove to yourself what you're capable of. But if you decide it's not for you, no harm done. I just want you to know that you have the potential to do something amazing." His words, simple and sincere, hit her harder than she expected. For the first time in a long while, she felt a spark of belief in herself, in her ability to do something that mattered. Emily took a deep breath, her hand resting on the arm of her chair. "I want to do this," she said finally, her voice steady. "I'll take the job." Liam's smile widened, and for a moment, the entire room seemed to light up. "I'm glad to hear that," he said, standing up and extending his hand. "Welcome to the team, Emily. You're going to do great things here." As Emily shook his hand, she couldn't help but feel a sense of relief wash over her. She had made the right choice. This was the beginning of something new, something she had never dreamed was possible. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she was on the right path. When she left the office that afternoon, Her steps felt lighter, her heart a little fuller. The world around her seemed to shift, and for the first time in a long time, she believed that maybe, just maybe, things were going to be okay. Emily's first week at the foundation felt like a whirlwind. She woke up every day with a mix of excitement and nervousness, ready to take on a new challenge but unsure of what to expect. The office was sleek and modern, filled with bright light from the large windows, but it felt different from any place she had worked before. The people here were kind, and they welcomed her with open arms. She wasn't just a waitress anymore. She was someone who could make a real impact. But with that came a pressure she had never felt before. This wasn't just about making ends meet anymore. It was about creating something bigger than herself. The first few days were spent learning the ropes, meeting the team, and understanding the foundation's mission. She quickly discovered how passionate everyone was about their work. From organizing charity events to reaching out to local businesses for support, every task felt like a piece of something much larger. Emily was assigned to work closely with another coordinator, Sarah, who had been at the foundation for years. Sarah was warm, patient, and always willing to answer Emily's questions, guiding her through the chaos of planning an upcoming fundraiser. Despite her growing confidence, there were moments when Emily doubted herself. She wasn't used to this level of responsibility. One evening, as she sat in her small apartment, reviewing event details for the upcoming gala, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Liam. "How's everything going?" the message read. Emily paused before replying. She had been so focused on proving herself that she hadn't stopped to consider how far she had come. She quickly typed back, "It's going well. Busy, but I'm learning a lot. Thank you again for this opportunity." She hit send, and after a moment, the phone buzzed again. "I knew you had it in you," Liam responded. "Just remember, you don't have to do everything perfectly. You're here because you have something special." His words brought a sense of comfort she hadn't realized she needed. In all her life, Emily had never had anyone tell her that she had something special. It wasn't just about the job. It was about someone believing in her potential. As the days passed, Emily found herself growing more comfortable in her new role. She began to take charge of organizing key aspects of the gala, communicating with donors, and managing logistics. The excitement of being a part of something meaningful outweighed the pressure she sometimes felt. She was starting to see that she was capable of more than she had ever thought possible. One evening, after a long day at the office, Emily walked to the park nearby. The air was cool, and the streetlights flickered as she passed. She found a bench by the pond and sat down, taking a moment to catch her breath. Her mind wandered to the past, the days when she had struggled just to make ends meet, the nights spent wondering if things would ever get better. But now, everything felt different. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was building a future where she could make a difference. She thought about the people she had met at the foundation, the lives she could help, and the change she could create. For the first time in years, she felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. Just as she was lost in her thoughts, her phone buzzed again. It was a text from Liam. "I've been thinking about the gala. I know it's your first big event with us, and I just want to remind you, don't worry about everything going perfectly. What matters is the impact we make. You're doing great." Emily smiled as she read his message. It was simple, yet so reassuring. Liam's belief in her had started to sink in, and she realized that she wasn't alone in this journey. For the first time in a long while, she wasn't just working for survival. She was working for a purpose. As she stood up to leave the park, the weight of her past struggles seemed to fade away, replaced by the promise of a future full of possibility. She knew the road ahead wouldn't always be easy, but she was no longer afraid to walk it. With each step, she was building the life she had always dreamed of, and this time, she wasn't doing it alone. The weeks flew by, and Emily began to settle into her new life at the foundation. Each day brought new challenges, but with each challenge, she grew more confident in her abilities. The fundraiser gala, which had once seemed like a distant, intimidating event, was now just a few days away. Emily found herself working long hours, coordinating every detail, but it felt different this time. There was a sense of purpose behind everything she did. Each email, each phone call, each decision she made was leading her closer to something that mattered. The team had come together, and everything was falling into place. One afternoon, while Emily was reviewing the final guest list, her phone buzzed with a message from Liam. She had grown accustomed to his occasional texts, always words of encouragement. She tapped the screen, her heart fluttering slightly as she read his message. I know the gala is coming up, and I just wanted to tell you, don't stress. You're doing an amazing job. I'm proud of you. For a moment, Emily paused, reading his words over and over again. I'm proud of you. She hadn't realized how much those words meant until now. She had spent her life doubting her worth, questioning whether she was good enough. But here was someone who truly believed in her. Liam's trust in her wasn't just about the job. It was about seeing her potential, something she had never fully seen in herself. She quickly typed back a response, her fingers moving faster than she expected. Thank you, Liam. That means a lot to me. I won't let you down. As the days passed and the gala approached, Emily felt the weight of her responsibilities grow heavier. She couldn't afford to make a mistake. The foundation had worked so hard for this moment, and she knew that this event could change everything for the people they helped. Every detail had to be perfect, but she also knew that perfection wasn't always the point. What mattered most was the impact they were making, the lives they were touching. The night of the gala arrived, and Emily found herself standing in the grand ballroom, staring out at the sea of guests. The room sparkled with chandeliers overhead, the soft murmur of conversation filling the air. She had never been in a room like this before. Luxury, wealth, and power surrounded her. But tonight, it didn't feel intimidating. It felt like a room full of possibilities. As guests began to fill the space, Emily made her way to the stage, checking in with the event coordinator and ensuring that everything was running smoothly. But as she stood there, taking it all in, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. It was a feeling she hadn't been able to put into words until Liam appeared beside her. Everything's going well, he said with a reassuring smile, his presence steady and calm. You've done an amazing job. Emily turned to face him, a nervous laugh escaping her lips. I can't believe it's finally happening. It's all so surreal. Liam nodded, his eyes meeting hers with that same quiet confidence she had come to rely on. You've earned this moment, Emily. This is your success too. You've made it happen. For the first time, Emily truly believed him. She had made it happen. Every late night, every moment of doubt, every step forward, she had created this. And for the first time, she didn't feel like an outsider. She felt like she belonged here. As the evening went on, Emily watched the event unfold. The guests were mingling, the auction was underway, and the funds were being raised to support the foundation's mission. It wasn't just the money that mattered. It was the people who were showing up, the people who believed in the cause, the people whose lives would be changed because of this night. When the night came to an end, Emily stood at the edge of the ballroom, her heart swelling with pride. She had done it. The event had been a success. She had played a role in something bigger than herself, and she had helped make a real difference. I couldn't have done it without you, Emily said to Liam, who had come up to stand beside her as the crowd began to thin. Liam smiled, his gaze warm as he looked at her. You did it all on your own, Emily. I just gave you the opportunity. You were the one who took it and made it something incredible. In that moment, standing together in the quiet aftermath of the night's success, Emily realized that she wasn't just working for the foundation anymore. She was part of something that meant more than just a job. It was about changing lives, including her own. And as they stood there, with the city lights glowing outside the ballroom windows, Emily felt a new sense of peace wash over her. She was where she was supposed to be, doing what she was meant to do. For the first time in her life, she didn't need to search for something more. She had found it. The days after the gala passed in a haze of success and exhaustion. Emily had done it. She had pulled off the event, raised the funds, and exceeded her own expectations. The foundation was buzzing with excitement, and everyone was congratulating her for her hard work. But as she walked through the office, feeling the weight of the accomplishment, a small part of her couldn't help but feel restless. There was still more to prove, more to achieve. She wasn't sure what it was exactly, but something inside her urged her to keep pushing forward. One morning, Liam called her into his office. As soon as she entered, he motioned for her to take a seat. He looked serious, but there was a warmth in his eyes that she had come to recognize. She sat down, her heart skipping a beat. Was there something wrong? Had she done something to mess up? How are you feeling? Liam asked, his voice calm, but with a hint of concern. I know the gala was a huge event, and it must be a lot to take in. Are you okay? Emily smiled, appreciating his care, but there was still a nagging feeling in her chest. "I'm good," she said, her voice steady. "I've just been thinking about what's next, you know? The gala was amazing, but I don't want to stop here. I want to keep going, to make an even bigger impact." Liam nodded slowly, understanding. "That's the spirit I've been waiting for. I've been thinking about that too. You've done something incredible, Emily, but I think you're ready for more. There's a position I've been considering, one that would give you more responsibility, a chance to take on even more leadership." Emily's heart raced. More responsibility? A bigger role? She had worked so hard to get to this point, but was she really ready for more? Doubt crept in again, but she quickly pushed it aside. She had come this far. Why not take the next step? "What's the position?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "What would I be doing?" Liam leaned forward, his gaze focused and thoughtful. "I want you to help lead some of our largest initiatives. You'll be in charge of building new partnerships with other organizations, overseeing our outreach programs, and even working directly with the board to shape the future of the foundation. It's a big role, but I know you can handle it." Emily was speechless for a moment. She had never imagined being in a position like this. It felt like she was standing on the edge of something huge, something life-changing. But with that realization came a wave of fear. Was she ready? Could she really lead such important projects? Noticing her hesitation, Liam smiled gently. "I wouldn't offer this to you if I didn't think you were ready. You've proven yourself time and time again, Emily. You've got the passion, the heart, and the drive to take this on. The only thing left is for you to believe it." Emily looked at him, her mind racing. She thought back to everything she had accomplished in such a short time. The fundraiser, the new friendships, the difference she had already started to make. She realized then that maybe, just maybe, she was ready for this. "I'll do it," she said, her voice full of determination. "I'll take the position." Liam's eyes lit up with pride, and he stood up to extend his hand. "I knew you would. I'm excited to see where you'll take this, Emily. You're going to do amazing things." As they shook hands, Emily felt a surge of confidence she hadn't felt before. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in her life, she didn't feel afraid. She felt ready. Ready to lead, ready to make an even bigger impact, and ready to continue this incredible journey. And with Liam's unwavering support, she knew she could achieve anything. Walking out of the office, Emily felt like she was finally on the right track. She was no longer just surviving. She was thriving, and the best was yet to come. The weeks that followed were a blur of meetings, new projects, and responsibilities. Emily had stepped into her new role with a determination she hadn't known she had. She was now overseeing major outreach initiatives, partnering with local organizations, and managing a growing team. Each day brought new challenges, but with every challenge, she felt more and more like she belonged. The work wasn't easy, but it was fulfilling. The sense of purpose she had longed for in her old life was now within reach. Despite the long hours and the weight of the responsibility, Emily felt more alive than ever. She found herself getting lost in the projects she was leading, excited by the possibility of helping even more people. The foundation's impact was growing, and she knew she was making a difference. But with all the success came a new problem. She was beginning to feel the strain. There were days when the pressure of balancing everything, work, personal life, and the constant drive to succeed, felt overwhelming. One evening, after another full day of meetings and calls, Emily sat alone in her apartment, staring at the plans for an upcoming charity event. The numbers, the logistics, the endless details seemed to blur together in her mind. She rubbed her eyes, feeling the weight of exhaustion pressing down on her. She had been so focused on proving herself, on making sure she succeeded, that she hadn't stopped to think about what she needed. Her body was telling her to rest, but she pushed it aside. There was always more to do. Just as she was about to dive back into the plans, her phone buzzed. It was a text from Liam. "You're doing great, Emily. But don't forget to take a breath. You can't pour from an empty cup." She smiled at the message, his words a reminder of the balance she had been neglecting. It was easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of work, to feel like she had to keep pushing without stopping. But Liam's words hit home. She realized he was right. She couldn't keep going at this pace forever. She needed to take a step back, breathe, and recharge. The next morning, Emily made a decision. She called into the office and scheduled a break. She told her team she needed some time to regroup, to focus on herself. It wasn't easy. She had always been the type to push through, but she knew it was the right thing to do. She didn't want to burn out, and she didn't want to lose sight of why she had started this journey in the first place. Over the next few days, Emily took the time to reflect on her progress. She went for walks in the park, spent time with friends, and did things that made her feel whole again. Slowly, the weight of the pressure began to lift, and she realized something important. Success wasn't just about achieving more. It was about maintaining balance and staying true to herself. When she returned to work, she felt like a new person. She was still the same passionate, driven Emily, but now she had a clearer sense of what truly mattered. She could give her best to her work, but she also needed to take care of herself. Her team noticed the difference too. They saw her renewed energy, her calm confidence. And as the foundation continued to thrive, Emily knew she had found a way to balance ambition with well-being. One afternoon, as she sat in her office, reviewing the plans for a new community outreach project, Liam stopped by to check in on her. He stood in the doorway, leaning against the frame with a smile. "How's it going?" he asked. Emily looked up from her desk and smiled. "Better than ever," she said. "I finally learned how to take my own advice." Liam chuckled, walking into the room and taking a seat across from her. "I'm glad to hear it," he said. "You've been doing an amazing job. But remember, you're not in this alone. We're all in this together." Emily nodded, feeling the weight of his words sink in. She wasn't alone anymore. She had found a place where she could thrive, and she had the support she needed to succeed, not just at work, but in life. And for the first time, she felt like she had everything she needed to move forward. As she looked at Liam, a sense of gratitude washed over her. She had come so far, and she knew this was just the beginning. As the months went by, Emily's life continued to evolve in ways she had never imagined. The foundation was flourishing, and with each new project, Emily found herself growing, not just as a professional, but as a person. She had learned the art of balance, how to manage her time, and how to embrace her own worth. Her role at the foundation had become more than just a job. It had become a passion, a purpose that gave her life new meaning. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the city lights began to flicker on, Emily sat in her office, reviewing the success of their latest campaign. She smiled to herself, proud of everything they had accomplished. The foundation had reached new heights, and she had played a significant role in making that happen. But what mattered most to her was the impact they had made on people's lives, the real, tangible change they were bringing to the community. Just as she was lost in thought, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Liam. It was rare for him to reach out this late, but as always, his words carried a certain warmth. "You've done an amazing job, Emily. I hope you know how proud I am of you." She sat back in her chair, feeling a surge of gratitude. Liam had been there for her from the very beginning, believing in her when she couldn't believe in herself. His support had been unwavering, and now, as she looked back at how far she had come, she realized just how much his words had shaped her journey. She quickly typed back, her fingers dancing across the screen. "Thank you, Liam. I couldn't have done any of this without your belief in me." Her phone buzzed almost immediately in response. "You've always had it in you, Emily. I just gave you the opportunity to show it. Now, you're inspiring others in ways I can't even explain. Keep going. The best is yet to come." Emily smiled, her heart swelling with pride. She had come so far. She had gone from a struggling waitress to someone who was now leading the way in the fight for positive change. And while there was still much to be done, she knew one thing for certain. She was exactly where she was meant to be. The next day, at the Foundation's quarterly meeting, Emily stood before her colleagues, ready to present the new vision for their upcoming projects. As she looked out at the team, she saw the faces of people who had become like family to her. They had all come together with a shared goal, and together, they had achieved things none of them could have done alone. "We've made incredible strides," Emily began, her voice steady and confident. "But we're just getting started. There is so much more to do, and I believe we can accomplish even greater things in the months ahead." Her words were met with applause and cheers of encouragement. The room was filled with a sense of hope, and as Emily looked around, she realized that this was where her journey had led her. She had found her place, and with the support of the people around her, she knew that the future was full of endless possibilities. As the meeting concluded and people began to file out, Liam stayed behind, waiting for her by the door. When she approached, he gave her a warm smile. "I knew from the moment I met you that you were destined for greatness," Liam said, his voice soft but sincere. "And I'm proud to have been a part of your journey." Emily smiled back, feeling a sense of contentment she had never felt before. "Thank you for everything," she said. "I couldn't have done it without you." Liam nodded, his eyes filled with pride. "You did it, Emily. You proved to yourself what you're capable of." As they stood there, sharing a quiet moment, Emily realized that this was just the beginning. She had come so far, but the road ahead was still full of opportunities. With her passion, her team, and the belief that she could change the world, there was nothing she couldn't do. And for the first time in her life, Emily knew that the best was yet to come.